Here we are about to learn about blends. Blends are awesome. These things will save your life, guarantee it. But not in the event of an airplane crash or drowning at sea. More of like a designing, saving of life. Okay. I'm not going to give you guys an exercise file to work with on this one, because I'm going to go with the very basic forms, and you should be capable of just drawing those with me and following along. I'm going to start with the most basic, just being a line. And I just want to draw a line, and while I draw, dragging downwards, I'm going to hold down Shift just to keep it locked to a vertical fashion. I might bump it up to be just 2 strokes or 2 points weight for the stroke. So with one line drawn, there are going to be times in your illustration and design work where you want some repetition, and it would be best if you didn't have to do that work yourself, just to help you realize some ways in which you can do it yourself rather quickly. I'm going to go over those first. Shortcuts. Man, shortcuts, we love them. The best shortcut that I probably use most often in Illustrator is the Option or Alt key. And that allows you to drag off a duplicate of something. So if I were just to drag off that line and let go, you'd see that I had duplicated the line. I'm going to hit undo. If I drag off that line holding down Option first and hold down Shift, then I can keep that constrained on the horizontal axis. And I can just keep doing this again and again. But if I wanted to do it again and again, I'd probably select those 4 that I duplicated. Actually, you know what I would do? I would just do 2 first. And then I would hold down Option, and I would duplicate those 2. And then I would do Select All, hold down Option, and whoa, gotta be careful. Duplicate those 4, and so on. At this point, I probably only need to duplicate the last 2 to try to get to filling the canvas. All right, so that's a nice way for you to do your own duplication work. It didn't take me too long to guarantee that I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 vertical lines that are all the same height, all the same width, all the same color. What I wasn't able to do was guarantee their distribution. So there are some that are further apart than others. I should know from what we've learned so far that I could select all of those and pull up the lovely window of Pathfinder and go to my Align window. Why did I choose Pathfinder? I'm just going to close that just so that I make this make more sense. Window Align. I don't want Pathfinder. I wanted Align. The Align window has all the alignment things. It's just to make sure that they're all lined up at the top. I could push it. Oh, that's the canvas. I didn't want the canvas. Align to canvas, or artboard is set. Selection. I want selection. So I held Shift as I duplicated all those along, which guarantee that they're all aligned at the top. But in the event that you didn't hold down Shift, then maybe you want to go to the alignment window and choose align to top or align center or whatever. But the distribute spacing is going to be helpful here. At this point, I can distribute the spacing per the selection, and it'll just make sure that all those elements are perfectly spaced. So that was one way in which I could do that. The other way would be, I'm just going to select those 9 and go back to my first one. The other one would be to define sort of a start and an end. So I'm going to hold down my Option key and Shift key, and I'm going to drag off a second one. I'm going to space it. I'm going to put it over on the other side. Here, what I can do now is I can use a tool called the blend tool, and it's down here on the toolbar. It has a little square and some like pixie dust into a circle. It's located under the eyedropper. This is the blend tool, and what you need to do is you need to make sure that you double click on it to get to your blend options. What this does is it gives us the opportunity to specify what we want for our spacing. So here, spacing smooth color is set, and I'm actually going to start backwards. Not backwards. I'm not going to start with smooth color. I'm going to go there later, but what I want to do is specify steps. And here, what I would like to do is I'd like to say that from the first line to the last line, I'd like there to be 8 steps of blending. And if I hit OK, nothing happens. But I have this tool. What I need to do with this tool is I need to click on the first line with the box. And you can see that when you hover over the line with the box, a little X comes up. That means you've defined your first shape. And then when you move to the next one, a little plus sign comes up, and that means that you're defining the shape in which you would like to blend to. Now if I click on it, what that does is it gives me 8 lines in between the two. They're all evenly spaced. They're all the same line, repeated again and again and again. The same height, stroke, weight, color, all that business. And I didn't have to do any of that duplication, alignment, distribute, spacing, and all that stuff. So this is basically what the blend tool is doing. Is it's duplicating the shape here. But what we're going to find out in a little bit is it doesn't have to be the same shape. You can do some really cool blends from one shape to another. But for the time being, this is the most basic form of the blend tool. These guys are now considered, if you go to your selection tool, kind of like a blend group. So the little bars that are in between there, the 8 that appeared magically when you selected that tool, aren't actually physically there right now. The only 2 that actually are the ones that you put on the canvas. So what you can do is you can double click to get into the edit of your blend, and you can see that there still isn't any way to select those guys in the middle, but you can select the first and the last lines. And what I want you to do is just to watch what happens if you move location of the last line. I'm just going to push it down towards the bottom. That affects the path of the blend from point A to point B. That can also be altered if I were to rotate the line. I'm going to hold down Shift while I rotate it to keep it locked on a 90 degree, and I'm just going to move it down here now. You can see that the blend also now says, all right, well, I started off with a vertical line, I'm ending on a horizontal line. So in 8 steps, I have to move through space in an equal amount of distance, and I also need to rotate over time so that I have a smooth blend from vertical to horizontal. I'm going to make a smooth transition from vertical to horizontal in about 15 minutes when I'm done with this movie. I'm going to leave my stand-up station and I'm going to go lay down in bed. And I'm going to evenly distribute that transition over the course of like a minute. Why does that make me laugh? That's because I'm a dork. I'm going to just undo those moves and pull them back up. So the other things that a blend can do is not just about location and orientation, but I could also go to the stroke color and I could say, let's make it like a green. And it's going to be hard for you to see on your screen probably. But what I have is I have a black line that slowly transitions to dark green and then eventually to the final green, which was that last line. If I were to take the stroke weight and increase the stroke weight of my last line to something like 20, then my first stroke, which had a stroke weight of 2 over 8 steps, will grow in not only color but in weight now, so that I have black to green and I have 2 point to 20 points. So each of these will be an incremental step in weight. If I move these closer together, then that stepping kind of becomes tightened, right, in space. And already you might say, wow, that's kind of cool. I could imagine that being a graphic. Sure. If I were to grab with my direct selection tool the bottom points of those 2 lines and just extend them so that they were, whoa, why didn't you go? Oh, because I didn't grab both of you. Uh-oh, looks like the computer screen is kind of bugging out. But there's, man, we've seen this graphic over and over and over again in all kinds of design. This sort of tapered, what is it? What do you call that? I can't call it a gradient. It's kind of like a gradient. Whatever. You know what I'm saying. So the blend tool ends up being really kind of a time and design saver. What I'd like to do is exit this edit of the blend. I'm just going to double click off the artboard and take me back to the beginning. I'm going to select the 2 lines and the blend between them, and I'm going to hit delete. What I want to do next is I want to do 2 different shapes. I want to do a square. This time I want solid colors. So I'm going to say no stroke, but I would like a orange square. I'm going to put the square on the left edge, and then I'm going to go with a circle, making sure that I deselect my square. I'm going to change the color of my fill to be purple, and over here on this side I'm going to draw a circle. And I'm holding down Shift so that I keep my objects, both the square and my circle, nice and proportionate. Why not select the 2 and just quickly go to Window, Align, set my align to Artboard, and say that I'd like it to be in the center. That way they're guaranteed to be basically on the same horizontal axis. So if I were to select these 2 shapes, have them selected, I can also do blends by going to Object, Blend. So here, the equivalent of double clicking on the blend tool would be to go to blend options, and that opens up your blend options. So you can go through the menu, or you can go to the tool. I usually go to the tool just because it's quicker, but the menu offers more of like a like a step-oriented thing. So if I were to change my spacing to smooth color, I don't get any say in how many steps this takes. I'm just going to hit OK. And then you go to Object, Blend, Make. So just by changing the blend options doesn't make anything happen. You actually have to make the blend. So with the 2 objects selected, it's the only way this is going to work. You choose Blend to Make. Now it goes boom. And what we end up with is this super smooth blend of color and form. So the square, which was orange, over time is slowly evolving into a circle that is purple. It's kind of hard to tell that the shape is doing it, but it actually is. Once we go into this forms, the blends edit, and you double click on it, then you could reposition the square and the circle and make them diagonal. And you should start to see that there is some stepping kind of going on, especially early on. Once you leave the direction of the square, you see a lot of, stair steps until you get close to the circle, which is smoother because it doesn't have any corners. But you don't see those when they're horizontal because this is a straight shot, so it happens very smoothly. You could also take the square and like rotate it, and you'll see again that it's taking the shape and blending it into a circle. I'm going to hit undo. I'm going to get back out of the edit. I'm going to select the blend. I'm going to go to Object, Blend, Release. So that's kind of cool. The relationship of the blend is a live thing. You can edit it, tweak it. You can change colors of these shapes, and it's going to change the color of the blend. You can change their size, all that stuff. And at any time you want to just let go, you just hit Release, Blend, Release. So that's another way to do it, and that shows you how smooth color works. What it's really doing is it's repeating those shapes like hundreds of times across your canvas in order to make up for that that change of shape and color and all that stuff. Now if I go back to my blend tool, double click on it, and get my blend options up, we could do specified steps again, or you can do specified distance. And if you choose distance, you're saying how far between these things do I want my blend to happen. 4 pixels isn't very much. In this case, I'm working on an 800 by 600 canvas, so that would mean that my square and my circle are roughly like 80 pixels wide. So if I wanted to see some space between them, I might need to. I'm gonna see what happens if I do. I don't want 20 is 40, 40, 50. I'm gonna do 50 pixels. So here we have to choose the first shape that you want to start with, and then the second shape that you want to blend to. And now this is more of a telltale sign of what is happening. You can see the square start to bulge a little bit. You can see its steps in color transformation to get from orange to purple. So it's much more evident. I've never actually changed this thing while it was up there. Oh, that works. As long as your blend is selected, you can double click on your blend tool, go back up and change your settings. And if you hit preview, that'll show you what it looks like. So in my case, 100 pixels is much better to actually see the forms by themselves. So the square eventually gets a little bloated and changes color to be purple. So this is really cool. It's a really great way for you to do some repetition of background elements or even like primary design elements. And it's pretty powerful. I'm going to delete that. Just a few other cool things you can do with this would be, I'm going to take the line tool, I'm going to set my fill to none, my stroke to magenta, and I'm going to draw a vertical line along the left edge. Make it fat so we can see it. And then I'm going to deselect that line, change my stroke color to be yellow. And I'm going to draw a horizontal line along the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my blend tool, and I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to just choose specified steps, and I would like between these two lines I'd like to do 25 steps. And I am going to target the top point of my first path, the magenta one. If you notice, as soon as you pass over a point, your cursor, the little square thing that is the icon for this tool, goes dark black. So I'm saying, yeah, I want that point to line up with this point on the bottom. And I get like a spirograph. And that's pretty sweet. So now I'm not only just changing color, but I'm also like creating new forms by going through the rotation and the positioning. And that's kind of a neat way to bring in that sort of a deal. I'm going to hit undo. And just to mix things up, I am going to get my line tool again. I'm going to pick a green color, and I'm going to shoot a line off the corner here at a 45-degree angle. And what I'm going to do now with my blend tool is I'm going to say I'd like to go from the top of my magenta line, so I get that point, to the bottom point of my green one, bonk, and then to the end of my yellow. And I've created this sort of rainbow fan, which is pretty sweet. Isn't that sweet? With my direct selection tool, I could select the outside point of my green line, and I could just change it, which is kind of a quick way to do your own edit of the blend. I can see that I could benefit from lengthening the yellow one so it's more square. But you can do some really cool, background lines with something like this. There's that one file that we looked at really early on in the semester that was that living on a grunge was the heart thing. I'm going to delete those lines. And if I open that, artboards, living, 6-pager, living on a grunge. Yeah. This guy, remember this guy? If you get in close, you'll see that the background isn't just a gradient, but it actually has a whole bunch of lines in there. Yeah, you can see them. They do some really weird things when you look up close. But this is a perfect example of the application of the blend tool. And all this really could be is like a solid color in your background. So I'm going to choose a rectangle tool, no stroke. I'm just going to pick a sort of, I wish you could just draw without that thing going away. So there's my background. Okay. Now I'm going to create a line, and my line is going to have a similar green. And I'm going to zoom way out. Because what I want is I want a line that's going to go basically through this whole canvas. So I'm using the corners basically as a reference to make sure that I've got the width. So I'm going to set this line up here. I'm going to duplicate that line. Whoa! Holding down my Option key and dragging and holding Shift. Yeah, that should work to here. So now I've got my two lines. What I'm going to do with this last one, I'm going to turn it to like a maybe a lighter green, just so they're slightly different. Can't even see those things. I'll zoom back in. And I'd like to say that my blend tool, I want specified distance, and I want my distance to be, well, hang on. These lines should be thicker. They're just 1 point right now. I'm going to make them 2. Are you selected? I don't feel like you're selected. I want you to be 4. 4, okay. Now, my specified distance, I'm going to say I want it to be 8 pixels. And I want to go from here to there. And now I've created my cool lined background, which is similar. It's not exact, but it's pretty close to that design. And what's nice is that when you have lines that are a little bit lighter on, the one end, but similar in color on the other, or even just the same color, it ends up being, kind of creating a gradient for you, but it's not a perfect gradient. A lot of times, perfect gradients don't translate well to video. You get some weird banding going on, and sometimes it also happens in print. So it's kind of nice to throw in some sort of noise. In this case, the noise is the diagonal lines, and that would help just kind of ensure the appearance of a smooth gradient. Until you look closer, then you see that it's actually just diagonal lines of different values that end up kind of producing a cool gradient. So that's one application of this whole thing. I'm going to hit select all and hit delete. The other application would be like, I want boxes around my entire document, and I'm going to make my boxes red. I'm going to put a box here in this corner, and I'm going to duplicate that box and put another one over. I can't, no. Go away. I want you there. And now I'm going to use my blend tool to say that the distance between those might actually be like 15. I'm guessing. Just guessing. Nope. Greater. 25. Let's see what happens. 25. Yeah, better. Okay, so there's my first blend, but if I want to have an entire grid of these, now I got to think a little more clever-like, and that would mean that I have to break the sort of invisible world of my blend up so that those are actually physical boxes. That would mean that I needed to go to Object and Expand. And Expand means that it's going to say, all right, yeah, there's this blend happening, and it's going to be this sort of live relationship for a while. Those boxes aren't actually there, but we'll make them be there. Until I say expand, and then it's going to say, okay, what do you want to expand? Well, I'd like to expand the object and the fill, and now all those boxes are actually there. This is a group now. In this group, I could do the same thing by duplicating by holding down Option or Alt and clicking and dragging down. I'm going to hold down Shift, drag it all the way down to the bottom. So now I have two groups. One group along the top and one group along the bottom, and the group means that it has all these squares in there. And now if I use my blend tool, my distance needs to be less because it's traveling a shorter distance. No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, if I do 25, it's going to be too great. Let's just watch. 25 from there to there. Whoa! No, of course it's not going to. Yeah, I was thinking specified steps, but distance is distance. Doesn't matter. Well, that worked out really well. For some reason, I thought I was going to have to, monkey with that, but I didn't. Distance is distance. 25 is 25. All I had to do is click on the top group and then the bottom group, and that filled in the rest. So there is, there's like over 200 squares that I didn't have to do anything but create two. I had to make two of them. And the awesome thing about this is that I could now select I could go in and edit this group, and I could say the bottom group, instead of being red, I'd like them to be, orange, or I want them to be blue, or something like that. And that has the effect now of this, this cool gradient from red to blue. But I've got these cool techno squares, whatever, for a backdrop or something. It's way too busy to put like text on top of this. If I really wanted to do something like that, I'd probably take my rectangle tool and I would lay down a solid in the background. So if I just draw one right now, it's selected, I have to send it in back, so I'm going to do Command Shift left bracket so it's in the back. That kind of helps. Maybe if I just change the color to purple. Ew, Jesus. It's so busy. It's just busy, period. But you get the idea. Oh my gosh, that's freaky. I don't know what I'm doing. Just kind of checking out different. Ew. Kind of bizarre what this pattern does to your eyes. So there's the blend tool, sort of inside and out. And I recommend you playing with it. And as a reminder, we're eventually going to come up on the middle of the semester, and then after that, the end of the semester. And there's a midterm exam and a final exam, and things like this are on it. So any of these movies that I've gone through and shown you examples of, you know, good chances are that you're going to be tested on these little techniques. So when you watch a movie like this, you really should either be practicing along with me, or as soon as the movie's over, do it on your own so that you get good at the stuff and really understand what's going on. All right, I'm going to go blend from vertical to horizontal. Hope you enjoyed the movie.